Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm Todd Nesloney, your host. I'm an elementary principal in Texas, and each week I try to bring you different people who have inspired me, encouraged me, or challenged me in one way or another, and give them an opportunity to tell part of their story for hopefully you to connect with and learn from as well. I am thrilled this week to have my special guest, Tal Thompson. Thank you, man, so much for being here. Why don't you tell about a little bit about who you are?
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be on a show with you because I have been a fan for a long time, following your work, and I love the amount of people that you've inspired, and especially the people that you have brought back, like I said, to your why. Like all of us are thinking about our why when we read your material, so thank you. My name's Tal Thompson. I am in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm a fourth grade teacher. I think this is my 19th year, possibly 20th. This is awful to say, date myself, but I've been teaching everything between fourth and 12th grade. But my specialty and the place that I've taught the most has been elementary school and middle school. And I got two boys, Cole and Reese. Reese I tell everyone, Reese is a fifth grader. He's a super bright, intelligent kid, probably grow up and be a lawyer, which is a good thing because Cole's going to need one. He's my 4-year-old, a lot of fun. And I'm married to a wonderful woman named Ann, and she is a fantastic wife, fantastic mom. And we are, like I said, living in Charlottesville, and we are loving it.
Awesome. So did you always know that you wanted to be an educator?
You know what? That's a great question. It's a real common question I get. And the answer is no. I always knew that I was, my aunts and uncles used to call me the Pied Piper because I was, I'm 6'8". I didn't mention that, my website name is Tal, and that's why I'm 6'8". And I've always been just a guy who, even in high school and in middle school, when I was just taller than everyone else, and kids were just for whatever reason drawn to me. And for a while there, I kind of pushed that away. I'm like, what is the deal with these kids? Why do they always want to hang out with me? And my aunts and uncles called me the Pied Piper, and then I was like a human jungle gym to kids. But I went to college to be an engineer. I thought, math is my specialty, and I just thought that was the route I wanted to go. And it took about, I don't know, 2 classes for me to realize this is not where I want to go. I know there would be more money in that field, but I just was not enjoying myself. And so it didn't take long for me to jump back into education and find out where that place was that would make me happy. And, I've given up a lot of money, I'm sure, taking this educational route, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I mean, I love doing what I do.
That's awesome. Well, the moment you said 6'8", I thought, God, okay, we can never be photographed together ever because I'm 5'6", and my wife always says you're pushing it with the 5'6". So no, I just can't. No.
So to me, we're absolutely going to get photographed together now. This is going to be fantastic. My mom is 4'11", so that tells you,
wow.
I love those photos. Those are some of my favorite photographs. So yeah.
Awesome. So you are really passionate about the maker movement right now. And so if we have listeners or viewers who don't really know what that is, how would you describe the maker movement, and then kind of talk about where your interest and passion in that came?
Okay. I think the best way to describe maker to me is unleashing all the child's potential from themselves and getting kind of the teachers out of the way through the process. So it's part of the constructivist unit. It's part of the Industrial Revolution. It's that whole mindset that I have a problem out there in the world and I need to be the person who solves it. I want to be the person who figures out how to solve a problem. And so maker, I always say, is, in its truest form is, here's a problem. If a teacher is doing maker, they're saying, here's a problem that we want to solve. Here's your goal, but I'm not really going to give you any steps. I'm going to be there for you when you struggle, but I'm not going to give you steps. And I'm just going to give you a huge amount of materials. You do whatever you want with these materials. So that they are developing the critical thinking process to come to the solution. Sometimes we as teachers give projects to kids and then we'll give them this template and it has 18 steps. And so they're not thinking about anything. They're just solving steps. They're going through each step and constructing something. At the end, we have 18 projects that look exactly the same. And in Maker, what's amazing is you can have something made completely out of toilet paper. You may have someone who did it through coding. They may have solved their process through any number of different materials or thought processes. And to me, that's super powerful because they have, they're problem solvers. And when they go into the real world, what the real world wants from them is, here's a problem. Don't come to me and ask me how to solve this problem. We hired you to be that guy. We hired you to be that lady who's going to come in and solve these problems. So that's why I love it so much. And And I just, about 5 years ago, it crossed my radar. And just like a lot of teachers, it was like, what is this thing, this maker movement people are talking about? And I was teaching in South Carolina, and I just kept reading articles after article. And it found out that most of these articles I were reading were from this district called Albemarle County Public Schools. And I told my wife, I said, I feel like they're writing on Huffington Post and in Edutopia, and they're writing to me. And so I said, I got to find out where this place is. So I looked it up, and turns out it's in Charlottesville, where my brother lives already. And he was clueless, had no idea this was going on here. So he was of no help to me. But I ended up just applying for jobs here, moved up. I mean, it was quick. We decided this is where I need to be. And we came here, and it's been amazing. It's just a huge part of the culture here in this school district. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
That's so cool. You got to love when you're in a place that you absolutely know you're meant to be. So, what do you feel like is the biggest thing you've learned and grown in since implementing this whole makerspace idea or making idea?
I think anyone who's gone through the maker process and has been trained and has gone through the struggle of learning how to do this, it's a couple of things. One of them is get out of the way. That's hard for teachers, especially elementary teachers. We are all about, I always say that what makes a teacher special is that we nurture and love kids. What makes us sometimes struggle as teachers is that we nurture and love kids. We can't get out of the way. We put that safety net so close to them. And so one of the hard parts was watching them go through this struggle and realizing, oh, I know what they need to do. I should go over there and help them. But then I'm taking away that failure process, or I'm taking away that little struggle, that little moment where they can re-strategize. And I think that's one of the things that's real valuable is you watch someone go through the maker movement and you see them struggle, and then they come up with a new strategy, because it's not on a piece of paper, it's not on Google, it's in their brains, it's with their collaboration. And so seeing that happen is super exciting. So I think that's been a big struggle early in the movement. Now it's fun. Now I sit back and I watch them. It sounds mean, but I watch them struggle because I know it's going to help them through the whole process. And I don't have kids who there for a long time, and like 5 or 6 years previous to me getting involved in this, kids would struggle and they'd start getting tears in their eyes, and you'd almost see them cower in the corner because they'd want to give up. My kids right now are like, well, there's the third failure. What am I going to do now? So they just keep going through the process, and it's real powerful to see. So that's been powerful. Yeah.
So what do you say to educators who may hear about this or look at this and think, oh, you're just playing games, you're just playing around, and where's the educational content? How do you address that?
Well, I mean, I could be anyone who's involved in this could be arrogant and say, let me show you my test scores, but that's not the right answer. I think what you do is, it's hard for teachers. It's so hard for teachers to leave the mentality that, that's test driven, high stakes, especially right now. Anyone watching right now has that same lump in their throat as I have right now. We are in testing season. And as much as we don't want it to impact how we are, it drives what we do, because that's the culture we have. And I say, for me, I take the same standardized test. I take the same benchmark test the rest of our district takes. I do all the things that every other teacher does, and my scores are at the same place or higher. So it works. And I tell them, like, to me, what I want my kids to know how to do isn't memorize the dates of historical events. It's not to know how to regurgitate information. I want them to do the stuff outside of content, even though all my content is embedded all through this. I want them to care. I want them to be part of a catalyst movement. When they see a problem in the world, they just don't bang on their chest and whine about it. They go do something. I want them to be compassionate. I want them to be creative and curious. And all those things come from Maker, and they don't come from me throwing a 42-page packet on their desk. That just doesn't happen. So that's what I would say to them. I'm like, just come watch and see, because that's really what it takes. You got to witness it.
I couldn't agree more. So if people were interested in learning more, where would they even start? Where would you send them to start?
I think the place that I started was Edutopia. Edutopia has a ton. If you go and type in the search engine Maker Movement, you can learn a ton there. Makered.org. Or go to a maker fair. Like, I went to a maker fair out in San Francisco last year, and it blew my mind. And I was in the movement, and I was still like, wow, this is a whole bunch more than I thought it was. And so there's big maker fairs in New York City and San Francisco, but there's also smaller ones all around the country. So just type in maker fair and then find one to go to. Find a school district that's doing it. And a lot of our work is featured in Edutopia, which is happened before I got here, which is how I learned about this district, like I said. But it's just go online and start Googling. There's some books out there. John Spencer writes a lot about the Maker Ed movement, but on Instagram, if you type in Maker Ed, there's some real rock stars out there putting out a lot of good work as well.
Awesome. So outside of this whole Maker movement, you have kind of a following or people interested in stuff? Because you've gotten some recognition for some pretty fun things that you do. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm tall. I'm a giant in the classroom, but I love being energetic and I love excitement in the classroom. And I'm driven by like a lot of teachers in this country who either saw part of the Ron Clark movement or just energetic in their own way. 2015, I was lucky enough to be recognized on the Kelly and Michael show as a finalist for America's Top Teacher. And that started this whole crazy other life for me where I'm speaking and working with teachers and stuff like that. And what they love to see and what I love to do in my classroom, a lot of it has to come around music. So I do a lot of room transformations and things like that. But recently, what has just, a video of me singing our morning song. We do a song called Hall of Fame every morning. And I just posted like a 30-second video on Instagram and all the different social media, and it's got up to like 700,000 views between all of them. And I've never had a video do that. That was crazy. And apparently people in Turkey and Brazil love that song because I have got tons of followers from Turkey and Brazil. But that's one way I fire up my kids every morning. I want them to be energetic. I am not the type of teacher who wants kids to come in and start on a morning task and be nice and calm. Because I need their energy. They need my energy. We're gonna love this process all day long. So we do that song every day called Hall of Fame, and it's about earning greatness. It's not just going to be given to you, because all teachers will have those moments where we complain about, the entitlement generation that's just constantly give me, give me, give me. My kids know in this class we're going to earn it, but we're going to do it in a fun way. So I also take songs and I turn them, take the songs and popular songs, get rid of the original words and change the content. And then I let the kids help change the words to the song. And then they come up with the dance moves because I'm too old to even have cool dance moves anymore. And so we have music going on in here all day long. We learn a lot through it. They'll debate through rap battling. We do a lot of stuff like that just because it's something they're into. It's something they're interested in. And to stay relevant as a teacher, you got to be connected with them. And for me, music, energy, and passion is what connects me with them. And so I wish I could do it more hours of the day. It's fun for me too.
Well, what I've loved about your videos, though, is you can tell that your kids had a hand in helping with the movements or the writing, but you're always doing it with them. And I think that that's an important piece that sometimes educators may try to do some of these things, and they're like, okay, let's try this. Okay, now y'all do it. I'm going to sit here and watch. And I love, and I know that you gain so much more respect from your students when you're in there, even though, like you said, you may not have as good of moves as them or being on beat, because that's totally how I would be. But I love that you're like, no, I'm going to do this alongside of them and show them that I'm in it with them. When did you start this whole idea of incorporating more of this music?
It was actually about 6 or 7 years ago. And a lot of people think it's when I went and saw, Ron Clark does a lot of music and stuff at his school, right. But it was about 6 or 7 years ago, just because I play guitar, I play drums, and, it's just something I've always been into. So I've tried to connect with kids. But over the years, I've developed my craft a little bit to be better at it. But I've also, with social media, there's so many people you can learn from and see, oh, that's a good idea. I never thought of doing it that way. And,
right.
But music is, it's the universal language. Like, everyone can speak music, even people that aren't, like you said, if you can't dance, you can still get into it. And a lot of people, one of the things that blows my mind is when I meet with some teachers who don't know me, they're like, what is the application process for kids to get in your classroom? Do they have to go through some sort of dance thing? And I'm like, no, like, I don't have any special, I'm at a public school. I don't get any dancers in my class. And what I'm most proud of is they're like, well, my kids wouldn't do that. And I'm like, but I think they would. Like, it's like you said, I'm stepping on a limb and risking. I'm modeling risk every single day with them. But I'm also, that's not day one. Like, we talk nonstop about what it means to, I'm teaching fourth graders. They're heading middle school, and you are a middle school principal. So, like, one of the biggest challenges for kids is that they have to deal with, are they going to be the version of themselves that's inside their inner core? Or are they going to be the version of themselves that's someone else? And so in my class, we practice as much as we can through music, that it doesn't matter if you're not on beat. Is it fun? Are you smiling? Are you enjoying yourself? Because that's you. And so no one laughs at each other, and they're off beat all the time. And it's funny, every once in a while we'll get done and a kid will yell out who's not a good dancer, will say, hey, Mr. Thompson. I'm like, what? He's like, I was on the beat like 3 times in that song. Did you see that? And I'm like, yeah. And everyone celebrates him. That wouldn't happen if we didn't celebrate the idea that it's okay to be offbeat. It's okay to be your own self and celebrate being unique. And so that's some of the things that music does in my class. And I'm just so honored and happy to be able to see it every day. It's awesome.
So I know teachers will be asking, this sounds great, and I know I'd have kids that would be totally into this if I did it. But what do you do when you have those kids who are like, I don't want to dance, I do not want to do this? Because I'm sure you've had some of those in your years. How do you get them involved to be wanting to be a part of it?
I think that sometimes I just get lucky, but over time, what has happened is I will pull that kid aside, and I don't want to stereotype a certain style of kid, but it's always a boy. It's always two or
Mhm.
three boys that will say, they're the kids who are so much into athletics and they just don't care about music, and they'll come, and they know the reputation of my classroom, and they come in here, and on day one, I'll start talking about Hall of Fame on the very first minute of school. That's the first thing we talk about is our daily song because it represents everything we do in our class. And I'll say, raise your hand if you're pumped about it. You've heard it blasting in the hallways all last year. And, about 80% of the kids will raise their hands. They've been pumped. They've seen it. And they've been like, I want to get in that room. I want to get in that room. And then a couple of them, they'll, kind of put their hands up like, I'm not really sure. And then there's those 2 or 3 kids every year just like, not going to happen. You are not getting me to dance. And I'll say, well, I'm going to challenge you right off the bat. And I'll do it right in front of all the kids. I'll say, I'm going to challenge you right in front of the bat that in 1 month, you're going to be more energetic than everyone else in this class, and you're going to love it more than anyone else. And they're like, and so they take that chip on their shoulder, almost digging a little bit deeper. But then I have conversations with them almost on the playground for like a week and a half, or I'll just walk the laps with them. We'll talk, we'll hang out, throw a football. And I'll just say, guys, I am going to go out of my way all year to make this the most amazing experience for you. And I'm going to do things for you that I really don't enjoy. You're going to see me eat things in front of you guys. It's not going to be fun. You're going to see me build things for you that's going to have me here till 10 o'clock at night while my family's at home. And so I'm going to invest as much as I can for you because I care about you already. And all I'm asking for you is to give it a shot. Give it a shot and work with me, because while right now you're saying you're not going to do it, I promise you when you get into this, you're going to be the biggest leaders in our classroom, and you're going to love that feeling when it happens. And knock on wood, that's worked every time. So I don't know why it works every time, but it does. So when it doesn't work, I'm going to call you back and have another episode. And I'm going to reach out to all these people and say, all right, tell me another idea, because this is working.
There we go. There we go. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit more about this top teacher thing with Michael and Kelly. So tell me a little bit about that. How'd that happen?
That was mind-blowing. So it was, I was literally teaching in my class in South Carolina one day, and my principal just came up, and he's a really calm, not energetic type of principal, and knocks on we have this whole glass wall. He knocks on my glass and he has me come over. And it's one of those where he didn't smile, just gave me the look. Come over here. I'm like, oh boy, am I too loud? Is my music blasting? What am I in trouble for?
Yeah.
And I walked out there. He just said, hey, I want to let you know you've been nominated as Kelly and Michael's Teacher of the Year. They're going to send a producer here. We'll talk about it more later. And he turns and walks away. I'm like, you got to give me a little bit more on that. So he gives me a little bit more detail. And then basically what happens is, a bunch of parents in our school district had nominated me. Some of the kids I currently taught and some from previous years had just nominated me. And then the top 4 people, they fly you out to New York, which was an amazing experience. I had, at the time, my youngest was only about 7 or 8 months old. And so they told me, like, he's not going to be able to be in the show, so him and your wife can be in the green room. I'm like, there's no way my wife's not going to be out in the audience for this. So I flew my mom up. She met us up there. And they also gave us 10 or 8 free tickets. So I mentioned to some parents thinking maybe someone will want to go, but 4 parents immediately jumped on this, and I'm bringing my kid. And we do the house system, so they all had their scarves on. So when I walked out on the stage on the day when they announced my name, that's the middle of the crowd was my kids and their scarf, my family, my boy, and walk out on that stage. And then, Kelly is 4'10", and Michael Strain's a Hall of Fame football player. So I give her a hug, and then he goes out and he wants to give me this cool handshake, which I don't know a cool hand. I'm not that guy. So I'm fumbled through that. Didn't know what I was doing, but I mean, it was amazing just to be on that stage. And every time I talk to teachers, I say, I wish every teacher could have this opportunity, because they flew a producer out. They spent 2 days with a film crew with me, interviewing them at my house, at school, getting in and out of my car, every aspect of my life. And they made a highlight video of me as a teacher. I'm like, what teacher doesn't deserve this? I mean, this is amazing. You should all get it. So, and then when I got off the show, it was, my mom said, your phone's been shaking for like an hour. I'm like, Mom, it's called vibrating, but whatever. And it was superintendents and principals around the country saying, wow, how do we get that energy and passion in our classroom? So that started that whole tall Tal thing, and that I'm still dealing with, not dealing with, but like coping with, like, how do I still be the teacher I want to be? But then, like, stuff that you're doing, be the best principal you can be, but also go help and inspire other teachers. So it's been a wild ride, and I have loved every second of it.
Okay, so what was it like though with Kelly and Michael? Are they totally like genuine cool people, or was it like, oh, it's nice to meet you, great, but we're celebrities back up?
No, I'll tell you a couple things about them. They're totally awesome, and I have 2 quick stories about them. And one is, if you look at how much money Kelly and Michael make on that show, it was mind blowing. I was there an hour before the show and I was there an hour after the show. They both showed up pretty much at the start and end of the show. So they work an hour a day. So just think about that. They walked out to the stage while they were showing me where to stand and they're looking through their papers. I'll do this one. You'll do this one. I was mind blown. I'm like, that's it. That's all you guys do. But when they come out, Kelly says to me, or Michael says to me, or Kelly says, I'm just not used to anyone being taller than Michael. So he looks up at me and they make some jokes on camera. And then when they go to commercial, they go and entertain the crowd. And so the crowd's going crazy, having a blast. And Michael comes over to me and he says, you are taller than me, but I could totally take you. And he had a real serious look on his face. I'm like, Michael, I'm an elementary teacher. I'm the only man in my building every year. I'm barely a man anymore as it is. So yeah, you could of course take me. And so he laughed about it, gave me a big hug. And then when they announced what our prizes were, me and my wife got to go to Hawaii for a week. That was one of our prizes. And on the air, she said, just drop your boys off with me. I'll take care of them. They're the cutest little kids ever. I'll take care of them. And we're like, this will be amazing if we could do that. So during the commercial, she comes up and she says, I just want to let you know, I'm serious. Drop your kids off with me. And by that, I mean, they'll be dropped off with people that take care of my kids. I don't even watch my own kids. So it was, they were both hilarious in their own way. And then when the show was over, they high-fived us and really just said, both of them said in their own way, you guys are the real heroes of the world. Thank you so much for what you do. And for them to say that and then go about their other 16 jobs they have during the day, it meant a lot. And we got to, the day I was on the show, one of the other people on the show was Mrs. Frizzle. The voice of Mrs. Frizzle was on the show on the Friday when all 4 teachers are back. So we're back in the green room waiting for them to come out and announce us. And this voice comes on. And it was weird because all these other adults in there didn't know why all the 4 elementary teachers were like, yeah, what's that voice? Who is it? Is that Miss Frizzle? And they're like, how do you guys all know that? I'm like, because we're elementary teachers.
That's
we know these things.
It's like I'd be more excited to meet Miss Frizzle than Michael or Kelly.
I know. That's why, but she was promoting some movie that was a little bit, inappropriate. And we're like, oh, Miss Frizzle's talking about things that she shouldn't be talking about. That's not okay. And so it was the whole thing was amazing. We just had a blast. And I just the luckiest guy in the world. I don't know how that happened, but I'm just so grateful.
So, thinking about that whole process and the whole experience, what do you think is something it taught you about yourself?
That is a really good question because when I came back, and when I had to start thinking about developing a workshop for adults, like how do I train teachers and how do I inspire teachers? It got down. I sat in my room and I'm like, well, I need to recreate what I do in my classroom. But I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, that's weird. Like as teachers, it's just instinctual to us. We do what we do. We work hard. We're constantly learning. But to have someone say, go take what you do, like the core of your message, how do you deliver it to other teachers? That was a challenge. And so I ended up going out to Colorado to this lady who's a speaking coach, and she's a real good friend of our family's. And she does this thing called the dig, where she puts you in this glass room and she talks to you and interviews you. And she just has a way of getting information out of you. And she said, I called it the glass booth of emotions because the whole time I'm crying. I don't even know why I'm crying, but I'm like, how are you doing this? This is amazing. But at the end of it, it came down to this thing that at the root of everything I do is on a one-to-one, and every teacher knows this, on a one-to-one connection. I'm trying to bring out the best in each kid. And that starts with me finding out how to get them to find the belief in themselves. How do you find, as late elementary, you get to middle school and that early high school era, that is crucial in kids. If they can learn to believe in themselves and believe what they're capable of. So I didn't realize I was doing that with kids. I knew I had connections. I would always tell everyone, it's all about connections, it's all about connections. But to me, it's all about making the connections that are based on them seeing themselves in the mirror and saying, heck yeah, there is more to me than meets the eye. And it's not just this false, you're going to get a trophy for entering this tournament. You're going to earn these things in life because I believe in myself. And so that, I think I kind of knew, but after the show, when I had to dig in and find out that core value of myself, I did. And I just like, this is what I do. And so I've tried to base everything I do through speaking and working with teachers on, let's start there. Let's start with that connection with kids and finding the best version of them.
I love that. So Tal, the question I want to end on today is, you've been pretty successful. You have people that know you from all over the country and other countries for things that you've done. You've got to be featured on a television show. You're getting to do what you love. But I know that there are still days that you deal with doubt and frustration. And am I good enough as a teacher? Am I doing the right thing? And I know that listeners and watchers that are viewing this episode today are probably often feeling the same thing and may think, well, he's successful, so he's got it all together. How do you, and what advice do you give to others when dealing with that doubt popping up, even when this is what you were made to do?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, any educator that tells you that that this job is easy and it's a breeze and there's no hiccups, um, introduce me to them first of all, because I don't think that teacher exists, because this is a struggle. And so I guess from the advice standpoint, first of all these teachers that are younger than I, a lot younger than I, that are growing up in the social media generation, please listen to this. What you're seeing on Instagram is a highlight reel. We are all showing you the best things that happen in our class. Please understand, it's just not fun to post the nightmare of me crying behind my desk at the end of the day. That's not fun. No one wants to click on like for that. We are all struggling, but you're seeing, because of experience and because some of us have worked a little bit harder than others, or whatever it is that's happened, we work real hard to create a special classroom, but it's not even that I go 3 or 4 days without a struggle. Let's go 3 or 4 minutes. Like, we're all going through the same things you're going through. Some of us just have a little bit more experience to cope with it. So I think what my advice would be is see social media for what it is, and don't let it inspire you, but don't let it make you feel like you're less, because you are not. Some of us have just got lucky and got to that point where we could do this. The other part is constantly go back to, and I said this to you, there are things in my life that when I need to figure out how to get out of that rut or get inspired, I will, it used to be when I lived down in South Carolina, I would try to go to the Ron Clark Academy. I was like, if I could just go there on August 1st every year, this would be amazing. But now I've got some books that I read that get me to that point, and Kids Deserve It is absolutely one of them, because it brings everyone back to their why. Like, you're going to read about, and really every one of us, if your why, it doesn't have something to do with every chapter in that book, then you probably were sold a all sell of goods on what teaching is, because it really is all about kids. I got in here to make a difference with kids' lives. I got in here to inspire kids. I got in here because of some of the horrible experience that may have happened to all of us in our lives. Like, we want to go and make an impact and save some kids. We want to save them from a path that they weren't necessarily going down, that they might be heading down, and we can save them from that. So go back to your why, dig into the reason, go back to when you were 16 years old and you finally made that decision, I'm going to be a teacher. And then I would honestly say, if you're not journaling, then that you're missing out on another great resource. I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning because I have a 4-year-old and that's the only time it's quiet. I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. I go straight down to my office and I journal for about 5 minutes every day. And really all I do is I pick a word every day that's in my gut. Sometimes it's grateful. Sometimes it's inspired. Sometimes I'll throw a hyphen in because I need a 2-word, like dig in, because I'm in a rut. And I'll say, dig in, write about that. All right, I'm in that point. This is a tough time of the year. And then before I go to bed, I grab my journal again and I write 3 or 4 minutes just what went well today. And even if it was a hurricane of a day, all the things, 3 kids threw up, every lesson failed. You know what? That tuna sandwich was fantastic today. And we're going to talk about that in the journal. Find something positive every day. So you're going to bed sleeping about something positive. And if you can make it about your job, that's great, because you need to wake up each morning refueled, ready to rock and roll.
I think that is wonderful advice. Tal, I love the work that you're doing. I love following you on social media, and I was thrilled when you agreed to come on and chat with me and share a little bit of your journey with others. So thank you so much for making time to chat tonight.
Thank you. I've enjoyed every minute, and I enjoy following you as well. Like, you're an inspiration to so many educators, and I thank you for all that you have done, and good luck to whatever is next down the road for you. I'm pumped for you.
Thanks, man. And thank you so much for everybody who's either listening or watching to this other new episode of Tell Your Story. I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation and learned something along the way. I hope this conversation has also encouraged you to get out there and be brave enough to tell your story, because every story matters. Have a great night, everyone.